It's 6:15 p.m. in Douala. You're watching the primetime newscast in the English language on another international. I'm Gladys Ambodiba. Stay tuned for our major stories. It is getting red in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, as the city has once again been hit by rising fuel scarcity, a situation that is getting worse as many go hunting for fuel at all angles to no avail. You have the situation in the nation's capital in this newscast. The crisis at the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon and the Bassa Parish in Douala is yet to be over. The Christians and the pastor were once again at the court of first instance in Dokoti this Monday for another court session, but the hearing was adjourned to January 30, 2023. The details you will have in this newscast. Those were our headlines. Stay tuned for developments.
Canal International.
Good evening once again, and thanks for joining us. We take you straight to the nation's capital, Yaoundé, to talk about the high rate of insecurity at the Boko area in Soa, that is in the nation's capital, and repeated assaults on board motorbikes that has occasion, and the registration of these motorbikes and distribution of jackets, that is safety jackets, to the bike riders. That was done in the nation's capital over the weekend. Beatrice Gamo tells us more.
In just 1 week, numerous cases of attacks, cries, complaints, what has pushed the local chiefs of the area to fight back, effective mobilization, in-depth vigilance. The number one suspect from every lips, bike rider, who on their part say they are also victims. Why? They embrace the measure.
Say somebody, they will think that maybe it's a bike man of anti-complex. So I'm very happy to see this delay because it will make that and stop many things that was happening in this our quartier.
It started with the registration of all the bike riders plying that stretch of road from Entrée Complex into the quarter. Number different from his, where to reach in case he is a perpetrator or victim. From registration, the traditional rulers of these areas embarked on sensitization before this weekend phase, which is the hunting of security, identification vests to the bikers, to distinguish themselves from criminals. As they are also calling on the population to take note of their riders, what they can identify from their jackets. Their next crossroad is that of Carrefour Chinga, and it will continue until they feel safe to ride home without.
And it is getting right in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, as the city has once again been hit by fuel. Caused transportation really difficult, as some car owners have simply packed their car. Let's have a clearer picture in this report presented by Haida.
Serious marathon to take his position, the filling station to get fuel, vehicles grounded, motorbikes packed, the queue getting longer as all are battling to get the precious liquid here at the neighborhood of Yaoundé.
I don't know what. I am here from no fuel. I don't know what to do.
Since 3 o'clock a day here. No.
The situation is not fine. I come from Nguso, couple petrol here from Emana. My petrol give me that petrol in Emana.
The scarcity has given birth to a disheartening black market situation.
Saying that we want to make for 2,000, make for 1,500. On veut vous dire que bon, 1,500, vous donnez 2,000, on vous donne pour 1,500.
Par exemple, 6 000 c'est là. C'est 6,500. Donc en réalité, si je veux pour 6 000, je dois ajouter 500 au-dessus pour que ça fasse 6,500.
Non, on ne comprend pas où c'est ça.
And with the dry pumps, other petrol stations completely out of service, The drivers can only go camping here as long as they can to wait for their turn.
If you carry your vehicle and go to a different place now, you will have the same situation. So the best thing is to stay and wait.
The activities of some completely on a still. And consequently, by 11 a.m., many Yaoundé sellers were still stocked the roadsides, running late for work, but difficult to get a taxi or a motorbike. Those willing.
A serious situation indeed. Thanks so much, Haisenchia. Take you to Njitapon in the known division of the region of Cameroon to discover the tomato plantations in that area and where a majority of the indigents live solely on tomato farming. It is one of those localities where tomatoes are created in large quantities. Let's discover the tomato locality. Tomatoes cultivation is one of the most popular agricultural activity in Jitapon, a village situated about 20 kilometers away from Koptamo, known division, West region of Cameroon. Here, there exist vast tomato fields. During our visit to these plantations, we met farmers in the process of harvesting. Can also harvest semi-ripe tomatoes. These are the types we transport to neighboring countries like Equatorial Guinea and Gabon. When there is abundance, women and children join the men to harvest. After harvesting, the fruits are measured and presented in a manner to attract buyers. We sell to customers tomatoes which are healthy and resistant to long distances from farm to market. That's why I place the tomato to buy the products. There is usually no fixed price to tomatoes, and prices fluctuate depending on the season and harvest. With this agricultural activity, farmers in Jipon are able to meet the needs of their families, emphasizing the fertile soil gives them minimal stress. We cultivate even in open fields. We don't need to water the plants because the soil is fertile and humid, suitable for tomato cultivation. It is a big gift to the people of Jitapon. To prevent wastage when there is abundance of tomatoes, the population has called on the powers that be to create processing and conservation units. This, they say, will create jobs for young Cameroonians. And the crisis PCC Bassa in Adwala is over. The Christians and the pastor, Philip D, were once at the court of first instance this Monday, but the case was adjourned to January 30, 2023. Session, Christians stormed the Lokbaba gendarme against to fight requesting for the closure of the church until a definite solution is found. Details.
Monday's court session was brief and once again adjourned to January 30. We could not lay hands on the pastor at that moment, caught up with Christians at the level of Gendarmerie Lokbaba, where they went to file a complaint against threats on lives and for the closure of the church until the problem is resolved.
Actually, it's very disgraceful for Christians and a pastor to stand in the court, in a civil court, to be judged, whereas the church has a body that judge church problems or solve church problems.
According to Christians, the problem rooted from the non-holding congregation meetings throughout 2022 by the church constitution. Congregational meetings have to hold 4 times a year, finance and order to be handled.
The Christians Bassa asked for a congregational meeting where church problems pastors to organize a congregational meeting. Consequently, the Christians decided to hold the pastor to organize a meeting and plead that the Christians have beaten him up to report to the and today we are at the Ndokoti first instance.
On October 2020 between the pastor and the Christians, Presbyterian Church, many Christians have bought services.
Our spiritual life, all look Christians up, down today. No church, nothing that.
We have rotated this problem hierarchy as any solution. Today we are now in the brigade today to write our to the brigade so that he can follow up to the DO, who is in charge of the church problem and Ministry of Administration of this problem. Because
attempts to reach a pastor react was futile when we went knocking at his residence, not church. Unfortunately, he refused to make comments. He told us the majority is here to react and seek nice.
And let's talk about New Year. He received New Year wishes from wives of the diplomatic corps and later wives and women of the national constituted corps. The traditional ceremony is back after 2 years at the COVID-19 break. The details with Beatrice Ngamo.
The orange and pink colors were blended with white outside and inside the Oriental Saloon of the Unity Palace, with flowers at every corner, on every table. The sweetness, feminine touch was the order for the about 1,000 women who came out with greetings and tidings for a prosperous and happy New Year 2022 to First Lady Chantal Biya and family. The first face by the wife of the head of the diplomatic corps, Gabonese ambassador to Cameroon. And people used the occasion to support the humanitarian works of UNESCO's goodwill ambassador Chantal Biya through Sierra. Despite the difficult terrain, Chirac was still on the field for the well-being of the vulnerable population of the country. Toast of friendship, little chats here and there. Chantal Biya's moment with the ladies. Time to depart and souvenir take-home gifts by the ladies. Phase 2 of the New Year wishes, wives and women of the National Constituted Corps, heading the women, Masi Nyat, followed by the National Assembly, then the government and affiliates, the head, Grace Dionguti. Based from executive, legislative, judicial branch of government, the National Assembly and Senate, going through the Central Committee of the CPG, with its women wing at the head, Yao Aisato. The wives of all 10 regional governors, female mayors, group of female businesswomen, female entrepreneurs, women of substance whose impact, like contribution, is being felt in the country. The line long for some, short for others, like wives of rectors, Yaoundé 1 and 2 universities. The colors and styles from dress, hairdo, one of the happy day. 27 delegation after delegation, the First Lady's humanitarian organizations, that is Cliquez, African Synergy Against AIDS and Suffering, the Chantal Biya International Reference Center on HIV/AIDS also present. Delegation number 25, female journalists. They all lined up behind the Director General of Sopecam, Marie-Claire Nana. The ladies of the press fired through with words of Happy New Year as they shook the hands of the First Lady. Canal female journalists were part of the great representation. Like handshake and kiss, this warm come-together and old tradition is back after 2 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Women in Cameroon having a special time with the mother of the nation at the beginning of the year to show the place this group occupy in society and the blueprint to national development.
And tonight we begin a week-long retrospective analysis on major events that unfolded in Cameroon in 2022. Tariq Divine says several occurrences punctuated the political landscape in the country last year, that is 2022, and amongst them is the visit of French President to Cameroon on July 25, 2022. Emmanuel Macron and his host Paul Biya had a 1-hour tete-a-tete discussion at a Unity Palace, and since discussions hardly filtered, we had some analysts who felt disappointed that and tends to vent their disappointment on claims that the August guest failed to mention issues of great concerns to Cameroonians. Details in this report put together by...
According to critics, one of the contentious issues President Macron chose to dodge was the release of incarcerated militants of some political parties described as political prisoners. Many expressed the wish Macron to pressure Biya into decreeing their freedom, a wish that was blown away as soon as the French head of state flew away from the country. Elsewhere, Prior to the visit, another major talking point within political circles was the thorny issue of the post-Biya era. Transition or succession. Those two words fueled boisterous debates across the country. However, the argument received a rather sarcastic response at a joint press conference granted pressmen and women by the two presidents. Responding to a question from a journalist asked if he would run for another term in 2025, Paul Biya, to whom Macron reiterated the same question, rather ambiguously retorted that at the expiration of his current term, public opinion will be informed on whether he stays at Etude or packs his bags for the village. Clearly, the evasive response served as a moment of disappointment for members of the opposition, some of whom demanded a clarification of the succession plan for the country. Elsewhere, security concerns also claimed priority space, with Macron pledging his country's support for Cameroon and Lake Chad Basin countries in their struggle against Boko Haram insurgents. But conspicuously, both men only marginally mentioned the ongoing conflict across speaking Cameroon. According to Macron, there is the need for consultation between the parties concerned to resolve the crisis, a recommendation considered in some quarters as simply baseless, considering the outcome of previous brainstorming sessions on the same matter. Without much surprise, the story of the colonial past between France and Canal also made it to the discussion center stage, with the French leader announcing his ambition to put in place a network of Cameroonian and French historians to shine the light on the deeds and misdeeds of France during the colonial era and beyond independence. Macron also seized the occasion to harp on the spread of Russian influence on the African continent. He said all African leaders refusing to openly condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine are hypocrites. Against the backdrop of a steady uptick in anti-French sentiment across Africa, Macron